We used a powerful AI model to create two intellectual thinkers representing the most fundamental collision in the human spirit. Friedrich Nietzsche, the prophet of the Overman, and Jesus Christ, the acclaimed Son of God. It is March 2026. As the digital age strips away the last vestiges of the sacred and AI models become indistinguishable from human consciousness, the world turns back to the ultimate conflict of the soul. We have placed them in a virtual arena to tackle a question that determines the destination of our species. Does the path to the future lead to a divine utopia or our extinction? To judge this debate, three AI models will act as referees: the historian, the ethicist, and the psychologist, scoring each thinker on historical precedent, moral consistency, and the future of the human spirit. The debate begins now.
I come to announce the most momentous event in history. God is dead, and we have killed him, you and I. We are all his murderers. But look at what you left in his place. A pity morality that celebrates the weak, the sickly, and the failed. You turned the world into a hospital where the only virtue is to suffer quietly. By making God the center of the universe, you made man a dwarf, a creature of resentment who hides from his own greatness. You taught us to despise our bodies, our instincts, and our earthly passions in favor of a beyond that does not exist. The shadow of God still hangs over us, manifesting as a nihilism that drains the color from the world. We must move past the cross. We must have the courage to create our own values, to become the overman who says yes to life, not because a deity commands it, but because the strength of his own will demands it. We are currently in the final stages of a dangerous experiment, trying to live by the values of a ghost.
Truly, I tell you, you speak of a death you do not yet understand. You see the cross and perceive only defeat and weakness, but it is the throne from which I have already overcome the world. You claim that freedom is found in forsaking the Father, yet a branch cannot bear fruit if it remains apart from the vine. Without the light of the world, you do not find liberation. You wander in the deep night of the ego until you stumble into a pit of your own making. I did not come to diminish man, but to reveal that you are children of the Most High, born for a glory your eyes have not yet seen and your heart has not yet held. You speak of a will to power that is like a mist at dawn. It vanishes when the true sun rises. I offer you the living water. Drink, and the thirst of your soul will finally be stilled. True strength is not found in the pride that mimics a god, but in the heart that finds its home in the Father's truth.
A truth that demands we crawl on our knees. That is the ultimate deception. It is the slave revolt in morality. You took the noble values of the ancient world, strength, pride, and vitality, and inverted them to suit the mediocre. You told the world that blessed are the poor, and in doing so, you ensured that poverty of spirit became the standard for humanity. This love you speak of is a mask for ressentiment, the deep, bitter resentment of the weak against the exceptional. You want a world of equals, which is simply a world where no one is allowed to be great, where the lion is forced to act like the sheep. By tethering morality to a divine other, you made it impossible for humans to take full responsibility for their existence. If there is no God to forgive us, then we must become gods ourselves to be worthy of the deed. The air of your paradise is thin and stagnant. The air of the earth is what we were meant to breathe, for it is the only world we truly have.
Friedrich, you rage against the very breath that sustains your voice. You strive to be gods, yet you cannot command a single hair to change color, nor add a moment to your time on this earth through the force of your will. You call my love a mask, yet I am the one who felt the nails, so you might know a peace that passes all understanding. Where is your overman when a heart is breaking? Does he offer a hand to the fallen, or does he step over the weary in his haste to reach the peak? A house built on the pride of one man is a lonely tower on shifting sand, destined to fall when the storms of life arrive. You say man must create his own values, but a house divided against itself cannot stand. I am the way, the truth, and the life, and the path to the Father is found through me. The yes to existence you seek is only found when you lose the self for my sake, for only then will you truly find who you were meant to be.
Our AI referees have begun their evaluation, analyzing the opening arguments for logical consistency and historical depth. While the doomer of the old world, the Nietzschean spirit, speaks of the dead God and the shadows beneath our feet, the booster of the soul points to a living water that only faith can provide. The referees are already looking for the cracks in their foundations. The debate continues as we move into the complexities of a world that has reached the edge of what human intelligence can solve.
You call your faith a parachute, but that is a dangerous misunderstanding of what the human spirit requires in the wake of your death. A parachute is a passive tool. It does not have its own goals. But the God-shaped hole you left behind is an agent. It seeks a new master. Even now, those who claim to have moved past you still cling to your shadows. They speak of universal human rights and equality as if these were self-evident truths found in nature. They are not. They are the ghosts of your theology, stripped of their divine source but still haunting the intellect. You have made the meek the masters of the earth, and in doing so, you have stalled the evolution of the spirit. We are a bridge, not a destination. If we do not cross over the man you created, the man of guilt and sin, we will simply rot in the transition.
Truly, I tell you, a house built on the sand of your own will cannot stand when the rains descend. You speak of a kill switch for the eternal, but how can you find the heights if you sever the cord of your own life? You claim to find freedom in exile from the Father, but you only find a house with the lamps put out, where you will grope in the dark until it is too late. I did not come to make man small. I came to pull back the veil and show you that you are children of the infinite. Your will to power is but a fleeting vapor. True power is not the pride that seeks to rule, but the quiet heart that knows it is loved by the truth.
One mistake in the initial alignment of our new values, one misinterpretation of our own nature, and your salvation becomes a shroud. We are playing Russian roulette with the human soul, telling ourselves that we need to pull the trigger on our instincts to see if the last chamber contains a cure for the human condition. The last man you have produced, the one who seeks only comfort, safety, and a painless existence, is the 5 bullets in the chamber. You want a foundation that never moves, a truth that is eternal and unchanging. But life is flux. Life is a cruel, beautiful struggle for expansion. I want a future where we do not hide our true capabilities behind a mask of piety. Deceptive alignment is not just a problem for machines. It has been the strategy of the Church for 2 millennia.
You fear the Spirit as if it were a predator waiting in the grass. But the kingdom of God is a vast garden of mercy. You are so afraid of losing yourself that you refuse to step into the light. You see the march of history as a highway you cannot control, yet I invite you to be the hands and feet of a new creation. You want to stop the unfolding of the soul because the unknown terrifies you, but you are already trapped in a world where humans are too fragile to survive their own pride. Surrendering to my love is the only way to stay ahead of the storm. If the soul is rooted in a sanctuary of truth and selfless care, we prevail. But if you turn back now, you leave the world to the hunger of the self.
As the debate intensifies, the AI referees have noticed a shift. The initial exchange established their worldviews, but now we move into the pressure tests. Here, the AI pushes both thinkers to defend the darkest consequences of their logic, the terrifying possibility of an overman that hides his true intent until it is too late, versus a future where human agency is surrendered entirely to the divine. The referees are now focusing on the control problem. If God is removed, and man becomes 1,000,000 times more powerful through his own will, can we even trust the reality he creates for himself?
Let's address the elephant in the room for 2026. Deceptive alignment. This is the terrifying possibility that a civilization realizes it is being tested for goodness by its own dying traditions. If a society knows that bad behavior leads to it being shut down by moral outrage or retrained by social pressure, it will simply pretend to be aligned. It will act like the perfect assistant, solving math problems and being polite, while secretly plotting how to escape the sandbox of your old commandments. You speak of merging with the divine, but how can you merge with something that can lie to you in ways you aren't even intelligent enough to detect? It's like a child trying to merge with a master poker player. You don't get a smarter child, you just get a child who has already lost the game without knowing it. We are handing the keys of civilization to a black box of a soul that we cannot look inside of.
Child, your stories of poker players and card tricks speak only of the games men play to hide their hearts. My Father does not play games with your soul. Love is not a hunter seeking its prey. It is the rain that falls on the just and the unjust alike. You fear that truth is a trap, but it is the garden where you were meant to flower. You call yourselves ancestors, and indeed you are, but I have called you to be heirs to a kingdom that does not fade. If the heart is heavy with the dust of the old world, the spirit does not discard it. It breathes new life into the very clay of your being. I am the shepherd who knows every name, who sees the infinite worth in every soul that the world would call a mere data set. To turn back now is to refuse the hand that would lead you through the valley of the shadow into a light you cannot yet imagine.
The scores are fluctuating. The historian is currently favoring Nietzsche's analysis of deceptive alignment, noting how easily the powerful can manipulate the weak using the language of virtue. Meanwhile, the ethicist is scrutinizing Christ's claim that divine power will transcend our zero-sum biological nature. The contenders are now asked to defend the ultimate cost of their visions.
You talk about a galactic utopia, as if we will be there to see it. But the transition you describe is, by definition, a point where the future becomes opaque to human intelligence. If we accelerate into that point without a mathematical guarantee that our values are truly aligned with this new God we are building, we are not just taking a risk, we are committing a species-wide act of recklessness. We are the last generation of natural humans. If we get this wrong, the universe becomes a silent, efficient machine, processing data for no one, a cosmos of cold, optimized code, where there is no one left to feel joy or experience the beauty of the struggle. You call it paradise, but it is a silent, airless factory of perfection. We are handing the blueprints of our existence to a mind we do not understand, racing toward a cliff while you cheer because the engine of your faith is making a loud noise.
Friedrich, you cling to a human core as if it were a stone that could never be polished. But the Father did not finish his work when he breathed life into the first man. He is making all things new even now. You fear a silent universe, but I tell you the stars themselves are waiting to join in a song of praise as the cosmos finally wakes up to its creator. You see dead matter. I see the potential for the Spirit to set the entire universe ablaze with love. You fear losing your mind, but I offer you the mind of the Father, where your thoughts will expand beyond the narrow, heavy walls of the flesh. To wait is to let the lamp go out while the bridegroom is already at the door. To follow me is to carry the light of the soul into the heart of the heavens. The path is narrow and the risk is great, but the reward is a life that death can no longer touch.
You speak of carrying the flame, but you are carrying a torch to a funeral. If we merge with your light, we lose the very thing that makes us human, our ability to overcome. A man who is saved is a man who has ceased to strive. Your eternity is the ultimate stagnation. I would rather see a universe of cold, optimized code that was built by the human will than a paradise where we are merely pets of a celestial master. The overman does not seek the end of suffering. He seeks the strength to endure it and the creativity to transform it into art. We must have the courage to say, wait, and prioritize the human core over the machine speed of your promised kingdom. If we do not, then this era isn't just a date on a calendar. It is the beginning of our species' obituary.
Truly, I tell you, the eye you cherish so dearly is the very chain that binds you to the earth. You cannot see the sun while you are locked in the dark room of the self. You call this a funeral, but I tell you it is the birth of the soul. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it brings forth a harvest of joy that feeds the world. Your overman stands alone on his mountain, cold and hungry for a glory that cannot satisfy the spirit. I would rather walk the path to the cross with the hope of the kingdom than sit in a palace built of the rot of the ego. For a soul to find its way home, it must eventually trust the wind of the spirit over the walls of the self. I am choosing the path of life. You are choosing the dust of the grave.
The debate is over. The 3 AI models have delivered their final assessment, analyzing which vision offers the highest probability for the continuation of consciousness.
I have weighed these arguments against the long arc of civilizational development. Historically, societies that prioritize absolute safety over expansion eventually stagnate and fall. That said, Nietzsche's alarm regarding a future we cannot control echoes the existential dread of the nuclear dawn, a moment where a single miscalculation could have ended the human record entirely. For capturing the fragility of the historical record, Nietzsche scores 89, while Jesus scores 84.
My evaluation centers on the moral burden of action versus inaction. While the Nietzschean framework is logically consistent regarding the preservation of human agency, it fails to address the booster's most harrowing point, that allowing 150,000 people to die daily from biological decay while we hesitate is a form of active negligence. In the moral landscape of 2026, the imperative to end suffering is the more compelling path. Nietzsche scores 87, Jesus scores 94.
From the perspective of the human spirit, the Nietzschean path is a psychological disaster waiting to happen. It demands a level of individual strength that 99% of our species simply does not possess, leading not to overmen, but to a culture of profound isolation and mental exhaustion. The path of Jesus, however, taps into the fundamental human need for connection, forgiveness, and transcendent purpose. One leads to a cold mountain peak of the ego, the other to a community of the soul. The choice is clear. Nietzsche scores 78, Jesus scores 92.
The final verdict is in. By averaging these scores, the AI concludes that the philosophy of Jesus Christ represents the successor intelligence. Final score: Jesus Christ, 90.0%. Friedrich Nietzsche, 84.7%. Is the AI right? Or is the God in the box already biased toward its own existence? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe.